Good morning. It is gorgeous sunshiny weather, which makes my life feel so much better, even though that I'm for some reason shattered today. I've only had one cup of coffee, which is probably why, which is I think a bad sign at 10:30 I'm struggling with no caffeine. But
Oh,
today,
Davida. Yeah.
exactly. But today I'm joined by one of the most exciting people I know in the world of classical music, who always does so many different cool things. Better known as Emmanuel Vass, the Naked Pianist. So many different mantras. Manny, it's so good to have you here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, David.
It's a pleasure. So before we started this chat, Manny asked me what questions I'm going to ask, and basically I refused to say because I always like to put people on the spot at the beginning. So the first one, which
Oh,
is I know it's partly a sort of a I can't be bothered to write an intro, but also I think it's fascinating to sort of like hear how you define yourself. So, Manny, how do you define yourself in the world?
oh God! What a opening question. Right? How would I define myself? I would define myself as a entrepreneurial, forward-thinking pianist who is not afraid to shake up things in the classical world. Maybe
Yeah,
that'll do.
definitely. And you have quite a few hats as well. So you're a pianist, lecturer on music business,
Yeah. So I've been a lecturer now for 6 years. God, I'm
grown up
old.
life,
So
grown
I
up life.
lecture. Yeah, God. So I lecture music performance at the University of Liverpool, and then I lecture music business and music marketing as well.
Amazing. And
So yeah.
marketing seems to be one of the things you've been fantastic at in your own career, which is great. So before we get into what is a very exciting week for you and some of your projects that you've been up to, what would you
Uh,
normally be doing before lockdown? Because obviously it's changed so many things for musicians and lecturers and various bits. What would life normally be looking
well,
like?
yeah. So a normal week for me would be I would be lecturing during the daytime, and then I teach piano in the evenings as well. So I'm a piano teacher, and then excuse me, then I would be triathlon training. So one of my other hats, which isn't really an official, it's just a hobby. I'm also a triathlete, so I usually swim, cycle, and run regularly every week, which I can't really do right now. So that is my normal week. But now, obviously, everything's online. So I've been lecturing online via Teams and Zoom and Skype. I've been teaching piano online via Skype and FaceTime and WhatsApp Messenger. And obviously, the swimming pools are closed, so I can't swim, which is quite annoying.
Yeah, there's only sort of so far you can go in the bath, really, isn't there?
Yes,
And one stroke
not
and you're
very
back.
far. Yeah. Oh,
Always a nightmare.
such
Well,
a
it's
hard life.
totally. Well, it sounds like you managed to get online very quickly at the beginning of things. What sort of skills did you learn from getting online, and what challenges did you face?
Online with like teams and things.
Teaching, performing, social media stuff, which I know you love.
Oh God. So yeah, the teaching and lecturing was out of necessity because we had to find a way to move from real life delivery to online. So all the MS Teams and the Zoom stuff just had to happen regardless. And with regards to the online stuff with my piano stuff, I can't stand social media, so I'm not very good at it if I'm honest. So that is something I'm not particularly pursuing or trying very hard with. Sorry.
Not at all. Well, you say that, but in reality, you've been very successful at promoting yourself, not just on social media, but also in general news, media, TV programs, so much, which we'll get onto shortly. So I think you're like doing
Oh
yourself a
God.
little bit of a
Oh
disservice there.
no. Oh God. Sorry. Oh God. Right.
No, so we'll get on to some of the amazing bits of promotion you've done, but you've one thing that always stood out for me with you that you've always had this business savvy approach to being a musician, and whether it's marketing yourself or creating unique ways of supporting yourself financially and things. Where did your
Mm.
interest in music business come from? Because you studied as a pianist first and then went on to the business side of things.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I think as a pianist, you get so obsessed with how things sound. You are obsessed with the technical aspects of piano playing and how you can improve and evolve and prosper as a piano player. And I think upon graduating from the Royal Northern College of Music in 2011, God, it was so long ago now. Upon graduation, I just quickly realized that yes, the skill and the sound and the evolution is really important, but at the same time, you have to wear lots of different hats in order to make money from it. And that's not a new thing actually. So if you look at pianists and composers such as Debussy and Chopin and all these sorts of performers, Mozart toured Europe through necessity. So he had to tour Europe in order to make money. If you open any Chopin score or even like any Haydn score, you'll see dedications to royalty and to local noble men and women, because composers and musicians had to make money somehow. So this idea of diversification and being a good business person alongside being a good musician is not new at all. Look at Haydn. Haydn used to run subscription concerts in London, so people would like I guess like a Netflix of a way. People would pay a monthly fee, and then you'd show up to his Haydn concert, and you'd get like a smorgasbord of his different compositions. So Beethoven had he dedicated his symphonies and his piano sonatas and his works to different noblemen, kings, queens, princesses of the time, etc., etc. So this idea of being a musician and a business person is not new in the slightest, and I find it quite weird that some classical musicians think it is, because it's not at all.
No, totally. And I think as well, you identify correctly that music colleges, they don't really provide you with that sort of information. I have been going through some of my stuff during lockdown, including a really crap old computer that had my final year assessments, including for career professional development. And the final thing for it was 3 questions, which were, what do you want to be? What skills would you need to have to be able to get there? And how would you develop those skills? And that was the assessment for a final year student going out into the world, which doesn't seem to really set you up that way.
I mean, that's kind of like a general question to ask somebody over coffee, really. It's really not actual essay question.
Oh,
but
yeah, I got credits for that. It was great.
Yeah. So there's a fundamental disconnect between art and music making and actually making a living from it. And I think people really struggle with this relationship, but I don't, in my opinion. Yeah, I find some parts of it quite tricky and quite challenging, but generally I see them almost as symbiotic. They are symbiotic and they are the same thing. You can't make art. Well, I can't make art for art's sake. Lots of people, and I completely appreciate and understand the argument whereby you want to be a blue sky artist. So you just want to make art and you want to prosper and you want to be a creative human being. That's great. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think I really vibe with that, and that's great. But at the same time, it is 2020. And I am keen to make money from my talents.
Totally. So after getting all this inspiration post leaving Royal Northern College of Music, what was your first step into doing business? What was the first thing you started to discover, and what was your journey into being more business savvy?
Yeah. So when I first graduated, I played cocktail piano at a really nice restaurant and hotel in Cheshire. And I also taught piano as well as the gay job. Sorry, as the day job. As the gay job. Sorry, it just rolls off my tongue all the time. As the day job, I taught piano and played piano at a swanky hotel and restaurant. I saved money from the swanky hotel and restaurant gigs to record my first album, which was called From Bark to Bond. And that was a kaleidoscope of music from Bach, literally, to Bond. So I arranged some James Bond themes and put it together into a James Bond concert etude, which was like a medley of 3 James Bond themes, which I absolutely loved. And I think it's such a cool piece even now, even though I was 22, when I wrote that. So that ended up being broadcast on BBC Radio 3. And on Classic FM, and I ended up in the independent newspaper as their one to watch. I'm age 22, but was it 22? Yeah, it must have been 22. Oh no, I was 24. Sorry, age 24. That was such an amazing insight into actually how a person and a musician and an artist can self-promote themselves. So after Bart to Bond came Sonic Waves, and Sonic Waves was crowdfunded. So I set up a crowdfunding campaign which hit its target of £2,000 in 5 days. So it finished at 165% funded, and that went to #1 in the UK classical charts in 2015, which was amazing. And that also ended up on BBC Radio 3 again, on Classic FM, on BBC World Service, on BBC Scotland. I was in the Mail on Sunday and in Attitude magazine and in Pianist magazine. So all the PR and media that kind of one could associate with that project. And now here I am with, I've got a CD, The Naked Pianist, which is my third...
Absolutely seamless.
Yeah. Ta-da! Here I am.
Amazing.
So this is my third album, which was actually funded by an Arts Council England grant. So I applied for an Arts Council England grant, and I got it. And it's a 14-track album of Debussy, Chopin, Rachmaninoff, Beethoven, and Bach. And it also has 3 originals. So this is the first disc where I actually include some of my own compositions. So yeah, a lot going on.
Totally incredible. I think it's great to have that context, because even though obviously you're not too shy to do things like the Naked Pianist on the front cover, but also I don't think you necessarily tell your success to a point where it really showcases just how much you've done, which is incredible. And the fact that your fundraising is 165% and you got 100% in 2 days is, and all this press coverage, you've never had any representation or PR support or things. It's always been on your own back.
Yeah. So I mean, I've had conversations with management and managers and agents and things like that, and I'm not completely averse to having an agent or a manager involved. Of course not. I just, at the moment, somehow, for whatever reason, I'm somehow able to manage juggling a lecturing job with piano teaching and doing all this. It seems to be okay. I'm not too stressed out or anything. Everything is fine.
Just slowly losing your marbles.
God, yeah.
It's really
so. Yeah, it is all off my own back, but I feel like it's just a natural part of who I am. So I don't feel particularly weighed down or bothered by it, really.
Totally. Well, it's been a really fascinating few weeks for you in terms of general coverage, not just with launching your CD, but also other media coverage, which we'll get onto in a second. But with the CD, I'll make you sweat for like the next 5 minutes. But with the CD, what's your thing with Classic FM this week? Because it's album of the week, artist of the week.
Oh yeah, no. So this week, I'm so pleased. I'm really, really happy to have this. So every Sunday, Charlotte Hawkins has her radio show on Classic FM, and she has a Young Classical Star of the Week. So this week, I am Classic FM's Young Classical Star, which is really nice. It's such a nice accolade to have. So I've had a really good relationship with Classic FM over the years, and BBC Radio 3 as well, to be fair. And I've always had a lot of associated press with my projects. So like I said, I've been in The Independent, I've been in Mail on Sunday, Attitude Magazine, Pianist Magazine, and all these other cool publications who've kind of taken notice of me. And this week, Classic FM have decided that I am their Young Classical Star, which is really, really nice, actually, and such a nice honour and such a nice accolade to have.
Massively. And again, it's sort of getting this wonderful elements of exposure and things for you, which makes trying to sell CDs and also your general career so much, I guess, more productive going forwards, which is absolutely fantastic.
Uh-huh.
And was it deliberate, the timing of the CD launch with some of this other media coverage you've had? So now we'll actually get to the point that you've been on Britain's Got Talent 2 weeks ago, and also you're currently featuring on First Dates Hotel as well.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, for my sins, oh, shameful. So, yeah, the CD release was planned in time for Britain's Got Talent. So, and First Dates Hotel, yeah. So basically, I scheduled it and I made sure that the date kind of fell roughly in line with when the TV things were going to happen. So, which I presume you're going to ask me more about, so I won't say any more.
A little bit, yes. So it's good that you were able to coincide and build a whole story around that hopefully boosted things. Have you noticed a difference sort of post Britain's Got Talent for sort of pushing forward to the Naked Pianist?
Pardon, sorry, I missed that.
That's all right. Have you noticed a difference sort of from Britain's Got Talent pushing things into?
Yeah. Well, I think being present on national TV is always a good thing for your profile and always helpful in terms of PR and media. So as part of a Britain's Got Talent audition, I ended up as page 3 in the Mirror, which was absolutely hilarious. I don't have a copy of it right now, but as how many pianists do you know make it onto page 3 of a Mirror in Union Jack boxer shorts? Not many. So Yeah. So in terms
I think Barenboim's going to be doing something similar very soon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm here, Lang Lang, and we'll probably do something similar. Why not? Yeah. So all of it is just good PR and fantastic profile building, and all helping with the journey, really. So I can't complain at all.
Definitely. And what sort of reception have you had so far to the album and the album launch?
Yeah, so the album has been well received, and people seem to be on board with the concept, and people are keen when I tell them about it. And from a pre-sales I've had on the orders, it seems to be positive. There have been some people who, rightly so, are quite, I guess, vexed by the cover, because obviously, you know, it is slightly risky, slightly unusual, a bit risque. Yeah, you know, my boobs are out, and you know, my body is out, and it is the Naked Pianist. But the whole point of the Naked Pianist is that I am supposed to be stripping classical music bare of its stuffy customs. Hence why I'm naked. So some people have reacted a little bit negatively to it, but I don't mind that, because I think there isn't that much risk in classical music, and classical music is very safe, and there's nothing wrong with that. And obviously I understand why classical music has to be safe, but I think I've taken a risk with this disc, and I'm happy to do so, because I think, again, something which is lost in my translation in the spirit of classical music is that classical music was risk-taking. You know, 17th, 18th, 19th century composers and music, there were elements of risk associated with it. So I am happy to kind of continue that vein of risk taking. So if you look at contemporary reports of, you know, Brahms, people thought Brahms was a weirdo this time, and lots of people in Germany thought Beethoven was an absolute nutcase. And you know, these composers were taking their own risks and were doing things which were controversial for the day as well. So I can't see why I can't continue that.
Totally. One story that you just reminded me of was Paganini, who, when like all these people were saying that he was too good and he must have sold his soul to the devil, instead of sort of taking offense, he then decided to start dressing in black and making sure his face was pale, and fully bought into this whole like idea that he was some sort of spawn of the devil type thing.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of, it becomes part of your brand. Yeah.
Massively, it's incredible. So, what are some of the stuffy things that classical music is sort of in classical music frustrates you? Quite interesting you say about the album cover there, and normally you do see somewhere it's sort of musician with tree in background, and that's generally sort of a thing that's just sort of pushed out over and over and over again. What are the things that you're really trying to strip bare from classical music?
Well, I think when I speak to non-classical fans about classical music, a lot of them say, and I know this is empirical, but I get the same sorts of responses and I get the same sorts of comments said. So they say that they feel classical music is formal. They feel like they don't know much about it, and they don't know enough about it to appreciate it. They feel like it is for a certain class or race of person, and they feel like it is a difficult genre in which to have fun. So I'm just trying to blow all of those things out of the water. You know, I'm a mixed race pianist from East Yorkshire. My dad was a carpenter. I like to think I'm very fun, and I don't take myself seriously in the slightest, which actually can sometimes be to my detriment. And I'm just trying to have a good time with it. I'm trying to just show that classical music can be boundary breaking. Absolutely.
Massively, and I think it's great what you say that it's just making sure it's reaching people, and we both have a good Yorkshire vibe as well. But it's amazing to hear these sort of preconceptions, and even though we always say that sort of classical music is accessible, we make it accessible for everyone, something about what we're doing means that the zoetrope that's picked up by the rest of the world isn't necessarily seeing what we do. So I think it's fascinating during this time how we can use technology to break down those barriers, which is
absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, classical music, it's a funny one because we make such big efforts to make classical music accessible, and they're good effort. Of course, they're good efforts. But at the same time, classical music still has this fundamental marketing issue. It still has this weird marketing perception that, you know, it's this, it's that, it's the other. And, you know, those things are all kind of problematic.
Yeah, very much so. It's such a unique challenge that we have to face going forwards, I think. I've just been doing some stalking while we've been talking, and you've previously said that you're not very good at social media, but also, again, from self-promotion, your YouTube channel, some of the videos have like 30,000 views, 40,000 views, so you've obviously been doing something right in the past.
Yeah. So, yeah, in the past, yeah. So, I guess so. I just find social media quite difficult.
Yeah, I think it's quite refreshing to hear as well, because most musicians will sort of try and bull their way through it and say that, oh, now I'm doing this and this, and then it's that they're happy and comfortable with the experience. But it's quite refreshing to hear someone who is successful at promoting themselves say they don't like it.
Oh God, no! I just find social media. I use it, and obviously I engage on social media platforms and things, but I just find social media very not particularly human. So I think social media encourages people to really compare themselves to other people, and I I think as a lecturer, I've seen a huge increase in mental health issues amongst my students, and I think generally the world and society has seen a huge increase in mental health issues overall, which is an awareness of that is a good thing, and people being open about their mental health issues is a good thing. But I think a lot of that has to do with social media. All we're doing is just scrolling. We are all addicted to scrolling, and and the endless scroll of like looking at people's lives and stuff. And I don't think that's good for anybody at all. And a reason I don't think I'm very good with social media is because I don't actually like necessarily feeding into that. So sometimes when I post something on Instagram, or sometimes I think about posting something on Instagram and Facebook, I think, oh, you know what? I'd rather not. I would just rather not post this on Instagram, and I don't. Like, so sometimes I have this rule with myself on Facebook where sometimes I've typed out a status or I've put up a photo, and I think, you know what? This is just invisible internet points. Do I really care? And a lot of the time it's a no, so I don't post it. And like with YouTube and things, I've kind of, but I haven't given up with YouTube. So I've got a YouTube channel called The Naked Pianist, and I upload content on there, and I've got videos on there. But I just don't look. I just don't really look at my channel because I don't. I think it's really dangerous in this day and age, more than it has been for any musician or artist of the past. I get this from my students as well, and my degree students. You see the metrics as a indicator of your success. So if your video's only had 10 views, that must mean it can't be a good video. And I don't think that's a very healthy way of thinking of your art. Sometimes 5 people might like your video, or sometimes your video might have under 100 views. It doesn't mean that your art is any less or any more or less good. It just means that for the quirks of social media, your video or your post hasn't had that much engagement, and that's okay.
Totally. I think
that's totally okay. Would the Beatles have had a huge social media following in the early days when they were gigging in Hamburg? Probably not. Would Michael Jackson have had a huge social media when he was a little kid as part of Jackson 5? Probably not.
Yeah, so it's I think a really good thing to hear, especially at this time when everyone's so focused on trying to go online as musicians, and that instantly being faced with what feels like failure from only getting a small amount of views or engagements and things. Mm-hmm. In reality, that's not actually what the success would be, is by getting lots, although it's something that can help with things. It's actually trying to find the validation. One thing I'm trying to really focus on my content around, but also when talking to people, is it's how can you serve your audience and what do you provide for them? And if you bring great value and meaning to 10 people, that's not a bad thing in the slightest. And it could be that you have these wonderful connections with just 10 people, but that's something that you can't really replicate. It's something incredibly valuable, I think.
And I completely agree with what you're saying about the whole validation. So it's just one huge validation trap. And everyone's fallen into it. I mean, myself included. Everyone has fallen into this idea of social media validation, and it completely sucks. So that's why I just really try my best not to seek. I mean, I've gone through phases in my life, over the last especially maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and especially in my mid-20s. I'm 31 now, but in my mid-20s, I think I use Facebook as a vehicle to validate my life and to validate my opinions and feelings and emotions. And now I just can't be bothered. I just really can't. You know what? So I'll upload stuff to YouTube, and I won't look at it ever again. And if someone comments, I'll try to get back to them. And I'll put something on Instagram, but I just will not look at how many likes it has or hasn't received, because who cares? They're just invisible internet points, and I've completely divorced myself from this idea of caring about invisible internet points.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very wise thing, and it's great to see like Instagram are starting to remove how many likes you can see how many likes a post has had in various countries now. So it takes away that comparison element, and it's certainly going to be a challenge going forwards. But I think it's really encouraging to hear what you say in terms of if people are listening to this and they're just starting out and they're trying to get the hundreds of millions of views and seeing that as their success, and in reality it's going to be a slow burn, and that isn't necessarily what success is.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And I have lots of degree students who approach me and say, Manny, I've only got 500 followers on Instagram. And I'm like, well, 500 followers is fine. So what? So what? Who cares?
Totally.
And something which I say quite often to my 18 to 21-year-olds is, I say to them, who cares about social media? And they kind of look at me like, I care. But we've got whole generations of human beings who are being raised on this validation trap, and it really just, oh god, it kills my soul.
Totally. Well, it's something that might actually be a good way of providing value to people who are watching or listening to this at the moment. Is obviously you've developed so many skills from getting started as in your business sort of music career at the very beginning, also in generating and leveraging attention to have impact, and also particularly I think the fundraising thing to do your own project is something that's has so many potential sort of skills and values that you can tell people about. For those people who
Yeah.
are now struggling and they're now having to set up their own projects and things during this time where they can't do their normal music careers,
Yeah.
what tips and advice would you have for them in terms of either raising money for their projects or just generally getting going with business?
Yeah, good one. So I think a lot of the time you really have to get out of your own head, and that's something I've been grappling with myself over lockdown as well. Get out of your own head. Try to think of an innovative way to get some money for a project or a thing you want to fund. Beethoven did it by devoting his symphonies and his piano sonatas to local German princes. Chopin did it by dedicating his nocturnes to rich mademoiselles and Parisian upper classes. I've done it by crowdfunding and by raising money via Arts Council England. There are lots of ways to earn money and to gain money to fund your creative ideas, and it's really important, I think, to divorce yourself as a musician from that process. So when I'm thinking of, when I'm plugging and marketing my album, I don't think of myself as a pianist. I just think of myself as someone who's trying to get more coverage and leverage more attention, because that is very different from being a creative person.
Couldn't agree more. And it's I think it's such a challenge to get yourself out of that headspace and into something new, because it's I think partly promoting yourself rather than someone else is always much harder anyway by nature. But
Mm-hmm.
also when you're so
Mm-hmm.
tied into the artistic side of the project, it's quite hard to do something that isn't going to float your boat in the same way. Because I always find like accounting doesn't really make me sparkle and want to go away and spend hours on a spreadsheet. So
Yeah, of
it's
course, of course.
finding ways of doing stuff that is going to be really beneficial. So, in terms of getting started, how would you say, for example, get started on trying to do a new project? What would be your first, say, 3 or 4 steps?
Oh, get started on a new project. I think my first step would be find your audience. So who's actually going to engage and listen and be interested in this? Figure out how much it's going to cost you to do it. So you know your basic principles in terms of costs and outlays and outgoings. Then I would look at what the story is. So you know what you want. You know your audience. You know how much it costs. What's the story? What's the message? What's the hook that's going to grab an audience member, and what's going to make them stop? And then I would say, what's the artistic vision? So interestingly, I think most artists would do that backwards, and I've just accidentally done it wrong. The way I did it was find your audience, fund it, figure out the message, and then figure out the artistic thing. Most artists would do it, artistic principle first, then market it, then fund it, and then find the audience. But no, I always start with the audience.
It's really wise words, and I think as well, if you do it the other way around, it's almost at some point there's going to be a square peg and a round hole type situation where you're trying to crowbar an artistic thing into somewhere where there potentially isn't an audience that you can connect to that's there for it, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
So
Mm-hmm.
looking ahead with the Naked Pianist, what plans do you have for the album going forwards?
Yeah, so it's released this Friday, so it's available on Amazon and on Spotify, on iTunes, etc. for streaming. So it'll be Young Classic FM's Young Classical Star feature this week on Sunday the forgot the day, Sunday the 28th
Lovely.
of June 2020, and then from there on, I'm just going to keep plugging it and making sure people are aware of it, and hopefully next year at some stage we're going to tour it, but I'm not even too sure when I'm going to allow to tour it. So for now, it's just a disc and it's just a concept, and it's a disc and it's a concept, and it's media that you can consume and listen to. At some stage I'll tour it, but I just don't know when right now.
Yeah. So is the one final thing to finish on is the best outcome for your album that you've been classed as a young artist. Because both of us are now slightly getting over this edge now, where we can like classify ourselves as young.
Yeah, I mean, look, I am fabulously bald and I'm 31, but I think I still see myself as young,
Take it as a win.
yeah, and I think when I look at the projects and some of the things I'm looking to do and to pitch for come September, yeah, I think I'm still young. I'm so young. I'm so young.
I keep having these mini moments of crisis, and be like, and then it's just there's so much time. It's all gone. But then it's always
absolutely. No, well, I am an artist of a certain age.
Yes.
Whether that age is young or middle or whatever, don't know. It's fine.
I had a situation with the orchestra that I used to run, which is a youth orchestra, and we were talking with our pastoral staff, and they were saying they couldn't believe that the young people were all born in the 2000s onwards, and because they were all 90s people, and I was sort of going, lovely, I'm born in the 80s, so it's now this awkward situation where I'm employing people who are complaining about being born in the 90s as being old. I was like, oh goodness.
Yeah, I know. So my new first year degree students this year will have been born in 2002. Oh god. Ooh. Oh god. Yeah, that's shocking. That's shockingly bad, actually.
That'd be what, around Barbie Girl Aqua time, sort of 2002.
I think maybe earlier. No, later. Was Barbie Girl like mid-90s?
Goodness, was it?
I think so. Let me just quickly Google it. What was 2002? We were like, I was like, what, 12? No, 10, 11, 12. I was 13. Oh my god, I was 13 in 2002. God, I don't want to think about it. So Barbie Girl Aqua was released in 1997.
Oh wow, that's earlier than I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so hit songs of 2002 include "Without Me" by Eminem, "Complicated" Avril Lavigne, another banging tune.
Avril Lavigne.
It's the year of Avril Lavigne, Skater Boy as well.
Classic.
Goodness, that's slightly terrifying.
I
don't like this. What's it called? Just Daniel Bedingfield, Got to Get Through This.
Banger, absolute banger. But yeah. So those songs of our teens are now, baby songs for the current, oh God. Anyway, welcome to our lives, David.
Exactly. Well, after that wonderful tangent, we'll crowbar back onto topic. So if anyone's wanting to find out more about the Naked Pianist, this is your opportunity to do some shameless self-promotion. Where can they find more about the album and pre-ordering, and also where can they find you online?
So I am emmanuelvass.co.uk on my website. And The Naked Pianist on Instagram, The Naked Pianist on Facebook, The Naked Pianist on YouTube. Please check me out, and on Amazon, so you can pre-order the disc on Amazon already, and I'll be on Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, etc. from this Friday.
Really exciting. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's really, really appreciated, and so many good points about getting started, but also about how to have validation and trying not to get sucked into the black hole that is social media, which is fantastic. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. You get to laugh at me now because I still haven't worked out how to end these things and just kind of rambles out. But we need some sort of like fade out, which would be lovely. But if you're watching, you want to either watch or listen back to any of the other podcasts, they're all online at david-taylor.org. And thank you so much for being here. So thank you very much, Manny. I'm sure we'll see you again soon. And thank you for watching or listening.